Welcome to Alexandria, the jewel of the ancient world, a city born at the crossroads of cultures where knowledge flows like the waters of the Nile itself. At the heart of this vibrant city stands the Great Library, a place of wonder and curiosity where the minds of the ancient world gather. The library was founded in the early 3rd century BCE under the reign of Ptolemy I, a general of Alexander the Great. His vision was grand, to collect every scroll, every text, every fragment of wisdom known to humanity. Alexandria was to become the world's center of learning. Imagine approaching the library. Tall marble columns rise, intricate carvings depict scenes of scholars and muses. The air is filled with the scent of papyrus and ink mingling with the salty breeze from the Mediterranean Sea. Inside, countless scrolls line the shelves, works from Greece, Egypt, Persia, India, and beyond. The collection is vast, containing philosophy, poetry, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and the histories of distant lands. This was no ordinary library. It was a research institution, a university, a sanctuary for thinkers. Scholars from around the known world traveled here, drawn by the promise of discovery. Among them was Euclid, the father of geometry, who refined the study of shapes and numbers here. Eratosthenes calculated the Earth's circumference with remarkable accuracy. Hipparchus charted the stars, laying foundations for modern astronomy. The library was part of the Mouseion, a larger complex dedicated to the Muses, the goddesses of the arts and sciences. Here, poets, scientists, and philosophers lived, studied, and taught. At night, the lamps cast a soft glow over the scrolls. Scribes copy texts painstakingly by hand. Philosophers debate quietly in cloisters. The scent of olive oil lamps and fresh parchment fills the air. This is a place where time slows, where every word carries the weight of centuries, and where the light of knowledge never truly dims. As the evening deepens, the great halls of the library fill with the quiet rhythms of study and reflection. The work here is meticulous. Each scroll must be copied with care. Each idea preserved exactly as the original author intended. One of the most devoted scribes is Callimachus, a scholar and poet who takes upon himself the monumental task of cataloging the vast collection. His system, known as the Pinox, becomes one of the earliest known bibliographies, a guide to navigate this ocean of knowledge. Through his work, future generations will find their way in the labyrinth of wisdom. Callimachus's diligence reflects the spirit of Alexandria itself, a city committed not only to collecting knowledge but to understanding and organizing it. In the lecture halls, Hypatia, a woman philosopher and mathematician centuries later, would carry forward this legacy. Though time separates her from Callimachus, her presence is part of the enduring spirit of inquiry born within these walls. She teaches about geometry, astronomy, and philosophy, her words inspiring young minds to look beyond what is seen and to question what lies beneath. Around the library's periphery, gardens flourish, filled with fragrant herbs and flowers used by physicians to heal and by scholars to study. The city's famed medical school thrives nearby, where texts on anatomy and remedies are studied deeply. Outside, Alexandria hums with life. Merchants unload spices and silk from distant lands. Philosophers stroll the harbor, discussing the latest discoveries. Artists paint scenes inspired by myth and history, their works destined to join the library's vast archives. The Great Library is more than a building, it is a living, breathing hub of human curiosity. Here, ideas travel freely, mathematics, philosophy, history, and science weave together into the rich tapestry of knowledge. In the quiet of the night, as lanterns flicker, one can almost hear the whispers of voices long past, the turning of ancient pages, and the steady heartbeat of a civilization dedicated to learning. As the night deepens, the scholars settle into their work with quiet determination. The Great Library is not just a place for collecting scrolls, it is a center for original thought, experimentation, and debate. One such scholar is Eratosthenes, the chief librarian during the 3rd century BCE. A polymath, he is famous for calculating the circumference of the Earth with astonishing precision using shadows and simple geometry. Imagine him standing in the sunlight, measuring the angles of the sun's rays, translating those measurements into numbers that would reshape humanity's understanding of the world. Eratosthenes also compiles maps and studies geography, laying the groundwork for cartography. His work bridges observation and theory, bringing the vastness of the world into the minds of those gathered here. Meanwhile, in a quieter wing, scholars study the works of Homer and other poets, preserving tales of gods and heroes. The stories of Odysseus's long voyage home or Achilles' valor echo softly, reminding listeners of human courage and frailty. The library's collection includes texts from distant cultures, Egyptian papyri, Indian treatises on mathematics, Babylonian star charts. This diversity reflects Alexandria's role as a meeting place for ideas, where knowledge from across the known world converges and thrives. The atmosphere is one of reverence and possibility. Every scroll, every fragment is a thread in the grand tapestry of human understanding. The scribes work carefully, aware that the knowledge they preserve will one day shape the future. Beyond the walls, the city's night air carries the sounds of distant music and conversation. But here, in the cool quiet of the library, time seems to slow, allowing minds to wander freely through the corridors of thought. This is a sanctuary where past, present, and future meet. In the flickering lamplight, knowledge shines eternal. As the night advances, the scent of fresh papyrus and beeswax fills the air, mingling with the faint aroma of olive oil lamps burning steadily throughout the vast halls. The library is alive in its quiet way, a sanctuary where ideas echo through marble corridors and reverberate in the minds of those who seek them. In one corner, a group of mathematicians debates the mysteries of numbers and geometry. They study the works of Pythagoras and Euclid, whose elements forms the foundation of much of their work. Their discussions, though hushed, are animated, an exchange of thoughts about shapes, proportions, and the invisible order that governs nature. Nearby, astronomers pore over star charts and celestial maps. They trace the paths of planets and constellations, working to understand the movements of the heavens. Their observations will influence not only science but also navigation, agriculture, and even the calendars that regulate daily life. In another room, physicians carefully examine medical texts, early anatomy scrolls, herbal remedies, and records of treatments passed down from Egypt and Greece. These healers blend empirical observation with ancient wisdom, slowly building a body of knowledge that will inform medicine for centuries. The library's collections are meticulously maintained, but its fate is fragile. Over time, fires and political unrest will threaten its existence, scattering its treasures and dimming its light. Yet in this moment, under the glow of oil lamps, the Great Library is a beacon of human curiosity, resilience, and hope. Beyond the walls, the city's night air carries the sounds of distant music and conversation. But here, in the cool quiet of the library, time seems to slow, allowing minds to wander freely through the corridors of thought. This is a sanctuary where past, present, and future meet. In the flickering lamplight, knowledge shines eternal. As the night advances, the scent of fresh papyrus and beeswax fills the air, mingling with the faint aroma of olive oil lamps burning steadily throughout the vast halls. The library is alive in its quiet way, a sanctuary where ideas echo through marble corridors and reverberate in the minds of those who seek them. In one corner, a group of mathematicians debates the mysteries of numbers and geometry. They study the works of Pythagoras and Euclid, whose elements forms the foundation of much of their work. Their discussions, though hushed, are animated, an exchange of thoughts about shapes, proportions, and the invisible order that governs nature. Nearby, astronomers pore over star charts and celestial maps. They trace the paths of planets and constellations, working to understand the movements of the heavens. Their observations will influence not only science but also navigation, agriculture, and even the calendars that regulate daily life. In another room, physicians carefully examine medical texts, early anatomy scrolls, herbal remedies, and records of treatments passed down from Egypt and Greece. These healers blend empirical observation with ancient wisdom, slowly building a body of knowledge that will inform medicine for centuries. The library's collections are meticulously maintained, but its fate is fragile. Over time, fires and political unrest will threaten its existence, scattering its treasures and dimming its light. Yet in this moment, under the glow of oil lamps, the Great Library is a beacon of human curiosity, resilience, and hope. Outside, the city sleeps beneath a canopy of stars. The harbor is still except for the occasional splash of water against stone, and the smell of salt and distant spices drifts in on the night breeze. Inside the library, time seems suspended, caught between the ancient past and the promise of discovery yet to come. The walls hold the whispers of centuries, stories of brilliance and loss, triumph and tragedy. In this sacred place, knowledge is both a treasure and a responsibility, a flame to be guarded against the dark. As the night deepens further, the library's quiet hum is accompanied by the soft rustling of papyrus and the scratching of styluses on wax tablets. Every movement here is deliberate, every gesture careful. Among the quiet scholars is Xenodotus of Ephesus, the first known head librarian who dedicated himself to editing and standardizing Homer's epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey. His work was crucial, shaping how these foundational stories were read and understood for centuries. The meticulous care taken by Xenodotus and others reflects the library's broader mission, not only to collect knowledge but to preserve it in its purest form. In another hall, philosophers muse on the nature of knowledge itself. How do we know what we know? Is truth absolute or shaped by perspective? These questions inspire debates that ripple through the ages. Outside, the stars shift slowly overhead. The great lighthouse, the Pharos of Alexandria, stands sentinel by the harbor, its light a symbol of the city's enlightenment and reach. The library's treasures, scrolls from Greece, Egypt, Persia, India, and beyond, form a mosaic of human thought. Together, they illuminate the shared quest for understanding that transcends borders and time. Though the library will face challenges in the centuries to come, fires, wars, political turmoil, tonight it stands radiant, a beacon of wisdom and curiosity. In this moment, by the light of flickering lamps, the great library is alive, its spirit enduring, whispered softly by the turning pages and the minds devoted to discovery. The night winds on, and within the library's walls, the atmosphere remains steady and contemplative. Every corner holds the silent testament of centuries, scrolls stacked meticulously, each one a whisper of a civilization's quest for understanding. In one chamber, scholars experiment with early forms of mechanics and physics. They observe the motions of simple machines, pulleys, levers, and gears, and theorize on the principles that govern movement and force. These ideas, though embryonic, will echo through the ages, laying foundations for future inventions. Nearby, historians examine the chronicles of Egypt's pharaohs, Persia's kings, and the Greek city-states. These accounts form the threads that connect human stories across time and place, reminding all who study them of the cycles of rise and fall, peace and conflict. The scent of beeswax from the lanterns mingles with faint traces of ink and aged papyrus. It is a smell unique to places where knowledge is cherished and carefully guarded. The city outside sleeps under the watchful eyes of its sentinels, but inside the library, the pursuit of truth never ceases. The dedication of these scholars to preserving and expanding the world's knowledge transforms this night into a quiet celebration of human potential. In this hallowed space, ideas are born, nurtured, and set free to travel beyond these walls, to inspire, to challenge, and to enlighten. As the final hours of night slip quietly by, the library's great silence becomes a sound of its own, a deep, calming presence woven through the halls and alcoves. In a small study chamber, mathematicians work by the steady light of oil lamps. They consult the theorems of Euclid, whose elements, organized right here in Alexandria, has become the cornerstone of geometry. His clarity of structure, the logic of his proofs, has turned abstract shapes into a universal language. Elsewhere, geographers pore over the works of Eratosthenes, once chief librarian himself. His astonishing calculation of Earth's circumference, made with nothing more than shadows, walking distances, and brilliance, still astounds. His maps stretch across walls, showing the known world in elegant ink and line, from the Pillars of Hercules to the Indus River. The library, in its purpose, is not merely a building of scrolls, but of dreams. Dreams of understanding how the heavens move. Dreams of preserving every tongue spoken, every thought recorded, so no wisdom is lost to time. A young apprentice walks the colonnade, careful not to disturb the sleeping doves nestled atop statues. She carries fresh scrolls and lamp oil. Perhaps, years from now, she will be the one to teach, to copy, to classify the knowledge of her own time. The moon is low over the city now. Soon, the first call of birds will announce the return of dawn. But for now, Alexandria is held in a breathless pause, a night suspended between eras. The library, aglow with quiet light, continues to shine, not just through its lamps and scholars, but through the very idea that knowledge is sacred. Outside, the faintest blush of dawn is beginning to stir on the horizon, painting a delicate line of rose and pearl where the sea meets the sky. Within the library, though, time still feels suspended, as if knowledge itself has the power to hold the world still a while longer. One final chamber still hums with activity, the scribe's hall. These are the quiet heroes of the library, the copyists who preserve texts by hand, scroll after scroll, hour after hour. They work with practiced rhythm, each letter inked with R. Some of them transcribed from ancient Egyptian, others from Sanskrit or Babylonian tablets. Through translation and preservation, the library does more than collect, it connects. It offers a bridge between worlds, between generations, between the spoken and the remembered. Nearby, a philosopher contemplates the ethical writings of Aristotle, scribbled notes by the side of each passage. In another room, astronomers track the morning stars, charting Venus just before it fades into the coming light. This is a city that listens to the sky. Even as birds begin to stir in the palms beyond the colonnades and the Pharos lighthouse dims slightly against the dawn, within the library the oil lamps still burn. They burn for the joy of discovery. They burn for questions yet to be asked. They burn for all who came before and all who will come after. This night will fade, as all nights do. The scrolls will be rolled and shelved, the wax tablets closed, the floors swept and readied for a new day of learning. But what lives in these walls, in the minds and memories of those who walked here, cannot be extinguished. Knowledge, once sparked, continues to glow. The library begins to quiet once more, not from slumber, but from the turning of time. The slow tide of night is giving way to morning. The soft crackle of lanterns fades as the first golden shafts of sunlight slip through the lattice of marble windows. Outside, Alexandria begins to stir. In the streets beyond the Serapeum and the Royal Quarter, vendors uncover their carts. The smell of warm bread and date syrup returns to the breeze. Fishermen call out in the harbor and sails unfurl under pinkening skies. Within the library, the scholars stand and stretch, rubbing eyes and easing stiff shoulders. A few smile at one another, sharing the gentle camaraderie of a night well spent in thought. One rolls up his notes on Stoic philosophy, another carefully reshelves a Babylonian tablet. A young student cradling a borrowed scroll of Homer pauses at the threshold before stepping back into the brightening day. The building itself seems to exhale. The mosaic floors reflect the light now, and the high ceilings echo with soft footfalls. It is no longer a sanctuary for dreams alone. It becomes, once again, a temple of the living world. One where minds arrive hungry and leave changed. Outside its doors, few citizens passing by ever see the work done inside. They may not know the names of the scholars or the titles of the scrolls, but they know somehow that this place matters. That within it, the voice of humankind is being preserved in ink and parchment, line by careful line. And although history will not preserve every detail of what once stood here, the idea, the sacred promise of collected wisdom endures. By the light of Alexandria, civilizations have met. Empires have listened. Knowledge has echoed like song across time, across silence. And so, as this imagined night at the Great Library comes to its close, let us remember what was gathered here, not only books and tablets, but thought itself. A record of wonder. A collection of questions. A prayer of understanding. And as the morning grows strong and the city returns to its rhythm, the library remains forever in memory, forever alight in the minds of those who believe that knowledge, once kindled, is never truly lost.